Three, two, one, go. Hi guys. So it's not often I show my face in my videos, but tonight I thought I would do a bit more of a personal video. So I am watering my enclosure, as you can see. It's taken me like probably over an hour, and I've only done like this sort of central zone, okay? This hasn't been watered thoroughly since April. In between then and now, it's had like the odd little spray misting. Um, because I don't know if you've noticed in my other videos, there is no water dish in here. So everything water-wise is provided through this, which the idea behind that is to mimic rainfall. And because it's a semi-arid habitat, leopard geckos can go long periods without water anyway. But I don't let him go for water for too long because obviously, you know, he needs to hydrate, keep himself hydrated and whatnot. So usually about once a week or so, maybe 10 days, I'll give it a spray misting around the sort of the humid area, which is the kind of central back zone. And then once about 3 months, I'll give it a good like spray misting thoroughly. It does take a while because it's a big enclosure. And for example, if I just show you, so this is a litre spray can, and obviously it takes ages for that to kind of use up. I've probably gone back into to the bathroom and here back about 10 times, but it is what it is. So the thing is, if I was to dump this water straight in, it would just flood everywhere because the ground is so dry. You know, it wouldn't cope with the heavy amount of water. So if I just spray it, it kind of gradually feeds into this substrate. Okay. Now you can see this substrate or soil is thick. It's a good 6-7 inches thickness there, and that could be one reason why the plants have lasted so long. But I will do another video specifically on the plants, because over the 2 years since, well, it's been nearly 2 years. It'll be 2 years in September since this terrarium was built. There has been a lot of changes since then, but there are two plants which are still alive in there today that I planted in there when I first built the terrarium. Those plants are two succulent plants. So there's the Sansevieria Dracena, I think it's called, or the snake plant, basically. That's in there. And then we've got the lace aloe, this little one in the corner. Again, I'll shoot a video specifically on plants. But basically, for arid setups, I found that the succulents, so like the aloes, the haworthias, the asparagus fern, you know, they're more, the ficus tree, they're more tolerant of the sort of environment in a terrarium. Okay. I've tried some alpines and some other kind of like perennial stuff, but they don't tend to last that long. So it's been a lot of trial and error, but generally speaking, the succulents have tolerated the terrarium the most. Okay. So I'm now on the cool side. So this area has really dried out. Yeah, the whole kind of substrate here has dried out, from bottom to top. So we have the drainage layer at the bottom, which is made up of hydroclay balls. And then the soil is on top. And the soil is kind of like a mixture. In this zone, it's a mixture of like topsoil, organic topsoil, leftover Arcadia or earth mix arid. I put some orchid bark mulch or chip in there, vermiculite, a little bit of sand. So there's a bit of everything that's been chucked in. Sphagnum moss. It's kind of like broken down over time. There's earthworms which somehow got in there, God knows how, probably through maybe some plants or whatnot. But they're in there and they do a fantastic job at turning round the soil. Yeah. And taking in the nutrients from the top layer, i.e. like the leaf litter and bits of debris. They take it down into the soil, turn it around, and then it turns into like nutrients which feed the plants, which in turn feed the insects, and then in turn that feeds the gecko. So there's kind of like a cycle going on, which kind of begins from the light and the soil, which is why those two areas really of husbandry are very important, especially in ecological setups. Okay, right, so back to it. I'm going to water this cool side, and because it's so dry, when I water it, even when I spray mist it, sometimes a few little droplets will come out and come on the floor, but that doesn't bother me. So if I was to dump it, it would soak the place out. So spray misters are really good, but it does take time. But I prefer doing it this way because, like I was saying before, the water kind of gradually seeps through. We've even got a bit of fungus developing in this central humid zone. I can't remember the name of it now. It's like a yellowy sort of fungus type thing. Completely normal. Nothing to worry about if you do find that you get that. There is a name. It's yellow something, and I can't remember the full name, but it'll clear itself out, and that's why, you know, like the cleanup crew, springtails, mealworms, all that kind of stuff, they'll feed on that fungus. So it's part of the cycle, okay? So this is now having a good watering. So we're in early July. It's kind of like monsoon season in wild leopard gecko habitats anyway. So this kind of mimics that in a way. And then it will raise the humidity as well. So the humidity at night times over the next few days will probably go up to like 100% because of how much water is going in there. But the temperatures during the day, they'll dry it out obviously a bit in the daytime. Okay, temperatures probably get to about 30 Celsius, 35 maybe on the warm side, but lately this last week it's been mid-20s, whereas the other week it was getting close to 40 on the warm side. But since then I have changed my lighting around, so I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a bit. Yeah, so in fact I'll talk about it now because this spray misting is going to take forever. So let me just see if I can get this camera around. Not sure if I can. Anyway, so yeah, so we've got the arid zone here. Let's flip that. So the lighting. Okay, so I've recently installed 2 long bars, and then you've got the halogen there, but that's always been there, so I haven't changed that. But the 2 long bars here are new, and I've replaced, so moved the fans to a new place. So where they are now, they were in one area over in the arid zone, but now they're sort of placed in between the lights. So we have 2 on the cool side and 2 on the warm side. to provide ventilation, yeah. Before, the lighting setup was quite cluttered. There was a big like grow light covering a lot of the mesh screen. Then I had two smaller jungle dawns and a smaller UVB. It was just all too much clutter, and there wasn't a lot of like ventilation space. There was a bit on the warm side, but not much on the cooler side. So what was happening was, well, when we had the heat wave recently, the temperatures were kind of getting a bit too warm for comfort, really. I mean, Mr. Jinx was happy. He was doing his usual thing, hunting and foraging around. He's actually gone a bit quieter, funnily enough, but that's probably because of the cooler weather that North Wales is having at the moment. So yeah, so I tweaked my lighting around just to streamline it. So I've gone for the Arcadia bar Jungle Dawn, so the long bar. I think it's 22.5 inch. And then the same with the Pro T5 UVB tube. Okay. So now, how is this for cinematography skills, guys? I've placed my camera on top of the base of a shoe with an empty Pro T5 box holding the camera up. So that is just, excellent filming skills. Moving up in the world, guys. It works. Right. That's all that matters. I'm just going to do a quick run through now of what I have here. Okay. So, gone over the lighting. So we have, first of all, it's a 3 foot by 2 foot by 1.5 foot. So I'll go over that again. So basically in centimeters, 90 centimeters from there to here. Okay. 60 centimeter height and 45 centimeters width. Okay. So you've got a good area of space there. And this is a Habitat terrarium, glass. And the reason I went for this was it's got a mesh lid on the top, yeah, which can open and close and whatnot. Okay. So the reason I went for this design was because I thought it would be best suited for living plants. Okay, because it's like kind of like a greenhouse. Yeah. I mean, plants. I haven't tried. This has been the only setup where I've actually had living plants. So I can't really vouch for wooden setups and plants or PVC setups and plants because I've never had one, so I don't have the experience of plants growing in those conditions. Okay, but greenhouses we see common, and they are commonly used for growing plants. So I thought a mini glass house would kind of serve that purpose and would enable the plants to survive. Also, this was a big selling factor for me. The depth for the substrate. Okay, you can even, if you've got an aquatic species, such as like a water dragon or something. I mean, I'm not sure how big they grow, but let's just say, I don't know, or a frog, right? You could even have this as like a sort of a paludarium type thing, because you could actually put water in it. Yeah, there's like a level which says the limit, and then you could have like rocks, but that's going into a different kind of thing. But there's a multitude of ways you could utilize a terrarium like this. Okay. So I thought it'd be great for myself. There's a drainage layer on the bottom, the hydroclay balls that I've used. You probably could get away with something like grit or like gravelly type, stony, pebbly kind of stuff. The hydroclay balls, they're kind of like volcanic debris. Don't quote me on that, guys. I need, but something like that. Look it up. Hydroclay balls, okay? So they're perfect for a drainage layer. I have used a hydro fleece in between the hydroclay balls and the soil, but that's not essential. Don't really need one of those. But I would, however, even if it's an arid setup, I would, however, add a drainage layer. Even if you've got a setup for a bearded dragon where it's like 40 degrees in the day or whatever, and you're having desert plants like cacti or succulents, I would still use a drainage layer. And why is that? Because the drainage layer is kind of like the foundation layer of your substrate. So if you think of the earth and the soil that we walk on every day, the ground, if you dig deep enough, you eventually hit stones and rocks, which acts as a natural drainage layer in the wild. And drainage layers are important for like retaining water, regulating humidity levels. They can even influence the ambient temperatures. They produce gases and whatnot to help the sort of regeneration of the soil and the conditioning of the soil, which then helps the bugs inside the soil, such as the worms and the springtails and the sort of the woodlice, isopods, those kind of creatures, which again feeds into the ecosystem in the terrarium, okay, on top of the substrate. So drainage layer is very important. So you have two crucial layers, the drainage layer and the lighting, okay? I have covered lighting a bit in a previous video, and that's another kind of long video, so I won't cover it now, but the lighting is important, that we cover those wavelengths of infrared, UVB, visible light, and what was the other one? I think a bit of UVA. So like full spectrum kind of in a way, yeah. So I use a halogen basking light, low energy 35 watt, connected into a clamp lamp. Got that cheap. I think it was less than a tenner from Reptile Systems. And then the Arcadia light fits in there nicely, E27 bulb. Okay. And then that is connected to a dimming thermostat, which is just a simple dial thermostat, so I can adjust the temperatures as I want to. Yeah. This is on a sort of a climate plan, so I kind of follow the climate in the natural habitat in this terrarium. So that thermostat that's important for me really, because in the winter time I can turn the dial right down and the halogen will pretty much, be on a low dim, and it mimics the darker days. The lighting as well, like the LED and the UVB, that will be on less day length hours to mimic the winter day length in Pakistan. Okay. And there's a ramping system, so the halogen will come on first thing, and then followed by the UVB and then the LEDs. Yeah. So, and then off in reverse at night time. Okay. So the halogen is connected to the thermostat with the sensor placed at the cooler side, which then allows that thermal gradient to travel through the terrarium. Yeah, so you have a distinct warmer side, which I call the arid zone, and then a cooler side, which is still sort of dry, but, well, not now, but is cooler. Okay. So, and then in the center, there's like that sort of semi-subtropical humid area. Okay. Which normally is like buzzing with life and is more humid. Okay. So there's kind of like a range of microclimates blended into one system. Okay. And that's basically it. So, yeah. If you have any questions or comments, please leave below and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. And I hope you've enjoyed this video and I will see you soon. Thank you for watching.